Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and hope you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and this is the Amex M449, just in time for the World Cup final. Vive la France, all that. And this is going to be a very interesting review, because this is a tank that I think Wargaming have pretty much nailed. I think they've got this tank absolutely correct. It's a tank that has some amazingly good points, some stuff that's pretty freaking incredible, and it's also got some stuff that's not too freaking incredible at all, which is kind of exactly how a tank should be. We were having a chat at Tankfest. One of the guys that was running the Challenger 2 that I managed to go in and have a look at Tankfest, and he was talking about designing vehicles, and he was saying, you know, you've got you want everything. You want firepower, you want mobility, you want the incredible armor profile, so what do you sacrifice? And I thought that was very, very apt when I was thinking about this tank in particular, because as you can see there, you can certainly get hit for an awful lot. And that's not an aberration. That's not a rarity. This thing has wafer thin sides. And if you get your focus, your tunnel in and lose sight of what's next to you, ow, 1083 into the side, slightly angled sides too, mind you, from a ISU 152. So here's the thing about the armor profile in this tank. This is where you give up the goods. This is where you pay for all the really amazing bits and pieces that you've got flying along all over the place with the rest of the vehicle. You have huge gaping weak points. The side of the tank is basically 55 millimeters of effective armor and 71 with a slight sloping on the sides of the turret. And the actual shoulders of the tank here go down about 208 millimeters, which is very pannable by most tier 8 heavies. If you can get it upright like that on top of a hill using the 10 degrees of gun depression, you still have a very, very weak hatch, which is about 64 millimeters. So there is a real comeuppance for all the big bang features that you get in terms of your gun depression, the lovely gun handling, the fairly good mobility, all that kind of stuff. You pay for it. The frontal strength of the armor profile, turret-wise and upper glacis-wise, like you can see 277, like if you angle that up slightly, you've got 270, 290. It's very easy to get up towards 300 millimeters of armor on the front if you are hull down using gun depression. But that's not every single situation. Now, the tank has a lot of other stuff going for it, but it is quite different and quite unique, and it does do things in a very different manner to most of the tanks in its tier. It's got the same kind of alpha and feeling on its gun as, say, a Tiger 2, but it has a lot better in terms of gun depression and turret strength. It's got the same kind of feeling on its DPM, say, as a Carnarvon, but it delivers it with a bigger dose of alpha. It's got excellent, amazing penetration on its AP rounds. And it feels like it can side scrape a touch, but the armor is so thin that doesn't really work out. Its mobility is pretty cool. Like it does get around the joint at a fairly solid clip. You're looking at a tank that at the end of the day is capable of pushing out at 40 kilometers an hour and can get up to as much as 34 degrees of traverse on its tracks, and another 34 degrees of traverse on its turret. So it has no problem lining up targets and keeping pace with them. Its big problem is just that you cannot show any angle on the side. So you've got to be very, very conscious of where the enemy is and how you can approach them without actually giving them that side angle. And it's one of the reasons why I've been hanging back here with this SU-152 hanging around, because he could one-shot me if he got the right angle on the side of my tank. Does it make money? Would be another good question to talk about, because it is a premium tank. It certainly does. It makes money. It makes cash. It makes cash at a fairly solid average premium tank rate, like an IS-6 or a T-34, slightly below those, maybe below a Lerva or something, but right around that. It felt like about the same. Does it look good? Yeah, it looks awesome. It looks absolutely brilliant. And the penetration means that you don't have to fire a lot of APCR. And that's important if you're buying this tank to be a farming tank, to buy a tank that you can both enjoy playing and running really, really good, strong credit returns in. And I'd rather drive this every day of the week than say that IS-5 down there. IS-5 is a lot more fire and forget. And this is one of the things that I really do enjoy about a tank, and why I think Wargaming nailed this one, is because, and the reason I'm showing you this particular specific situation is because this is the perfect storm for this tank, right? This is hull down at decent range. It's got an area where it can show its gun and still not expose a large amount of its side. And I'm wondering why our light tank is pushing into 7 red heavies. But anyway, we didn't have to wonder about it for long. He's gone the way of the dodo as well. And you can angle up the tank without actually exposing huge amounts of weak armor. And that side armor is really your Achilles heel, which is great. I think that's grand. I really do think that's grand. That's how the game should be. You know, it should be played with pluses and minuses, and it has 2,325 DPM, which is right up there with the Carnarvon. Hey, the Carnarvon's like 2,500, so you've got about slightly less than 10% less DPM than the Carnarvon, which is pretty freaking cool. Like, and the penetration means that you get plenty of opportunities to tear people apart. Like I was saying, I'd rather be driving this tank than the IS-5. The IS-5 might handle a big bunch of tanks on it better, but it's not got anywhere near the subtlety of the AMX here. It just doesn't have that kind of subtlety. Look at that tomato that is the E75. I mean, that thing, really, it's still a beast, isn't it? This is with 232 millimeters of AP pen. That's as much as you're going to get just about on a tier 8 heavy tank. Look at it. It's still a tough pen. Even like with me fully aimed in, it still does the business. Now, the gun itself is .335 dispersion. Again, that's a step above your IS-5s and your IS-6s and those kind of tanks, but it's a step below your, say, Carnarvons, which is like .29 when you've got all the bells and whistles on it. Those penetration numbers, though, are pretty special. And the fact that you have excellent penetration, excellent gun depression, like 10 degrees of gun depression, you're a legitimate freaking hull down heavy, mean that when you get an opportunity to take a shot, you're going to pen a lot of tanks without using APCR, and you're going to pen them on snapshots, and you're going to pen them from awkward angles, even when they're angling up, because that's how penetration works. It means you don't have to worry so much about a lot of the other stuff. And you've got enough dispersion to get that point across. And that's really the important thing. I want to talk a little bit more about the tank with regard to the armor profile, and namely the hatch on top. I said 61 millimeters before. Now, what I meant was 61 millimeters when you are totally angled up using your gun depression. I think it's about 41 millimeters, which is not a lot. In fact, it's hilariously low. And the 55, the 41, the 60 odd millimeters side armor on the turrets, they're important numbers, because a 150 millimeter gun that fires HE has about 90 millimeters of pen, 96 millimeters of pen, I think it is, on your 150 millimeter round. And that means that if any 150 millimeter gun gets to the side of this tank, you are going to be in tremendous strife. And you can see just how weak the tank is sidewise. Like the T-25 and 2 is punishing me from the side. And as soon as I get the gun around and my tank lined up with the 25 and 2, it's all over for him. He's got absolutely no chance. Like the bounces come thick and fast when you can keep tanks in front of you. You've got to be cognizant of the hatch. That means you have to not just sit still when you take a shot if someone has a shot at you. Parts of the map, like the top here where we're going over the top and you get mediums and heavies on the other side, and you have hull down brawls. The middle of the map on mines, the kill towards mines, the ridge in the middle of dead rail. These are places where you can get great shots off and you can farm up awesome damage. But if you do not pay attention and if you just sit still, you will get absolutely wrecked, and deservedly so, because you know there's got to be a negative to it. I played it for 20 games. I had like a 75% win rate and 2,000 average damage. And Look, the better a player you are, the better you're going to be in the tank. That's all there is to it. It's one of those great tanks that rewards solid play. And this is Nico, a good friend of the channel, rocking and rolling in the AMX M449. Now, this is one of the beautiful things about the replay system. You can see he is in such a good spot. This is where the tank was built to perform. This is exactly where you want to be if you're driving the M449. And you can see a lot like an E100, which I know is a weird tank to make a comparison to. The way you angle the turret is super important. You can't over angle that turret. You've got to try and keep, even if you're trying to look around you, you've got to really use the look around bar and make sure that you're not showing anything of the side. In the E100, you have that same kind of issue where you can't show the cheeks flat. In this one, you can't show the side of the turret at all. So you've got to be very, very careful with that. And our Amigo here does great things. And as I was saying, the replay system is brilliant for us because I played 20 games in the tank. So I got a great feel for the tank, and I've played, 60,000 games. So I fully understand how a tank works. And then I got to go and find a wonderful game like this, which was just the brilliant showcase of exactly what you want to be doing in the M449 and exactly how good it is when you get it hull down and you are able to really work the numbers. And you can see, look at that upper plate that he's showing off there. That's like nearly 300 millimeters of upper plate. The shoulders are a little bit weaker, but that SU-100M1 doesn't have the gun depression to take advantage of it. Despite having amazing DPM and all that kind of stuff, he's got to skedaddle and move off. And you can see Nico doesn't have to worry about that too much at all. And look at how easily the M4 tracks that target. It's just kicking ass. It keeps a hold on that target. No problems. Look at that SU-100M1. What in the world is he doing going around the world for sixpence? Now we've got to clear the Lupus, and the SU-152 down there is a big issue. Look at this. Just hull down, angle up that front so you're about, 15, 20 degrees to the side of the target, and you can effectively get really high armor penetration values required to actually lose any hit points. And look at the mobility on it. The thing moves very, very nicely. Very nicely indeed. And he gets his sides right up close, which is probably the best you can do in this situation. You want them shooting into the gun itself. There's the Lupus just doing stupid Lupus things with a stupid Lupus armor profile. And now it's 2-on-3. So things are looking pretty solid. It's getting close though. 2 caps to 1. They're still down by 170 points on the caps, and that's not going away. It's getting worse, in fact. There's a T44 there. T44, he doesn't want him to get onto those really, really weak side panels. Not a lot of choice, though. He's got to get into that cap. Here comes the AMX. Lovely work from the Amigo. Look at that. Bibbidi-bop. Gonna hop. And that T44 is certainly gonna hop. They've got to get hopping right here, boys and girls. Got to clear this 44 ASAP, or the clock is going to beat them. Now, I think this is a great drive for this tank. I think it absolutely showcases the positives, and you've seen the negatives highlighted already by me when I got wrecked by an ISU-152 and a T49 in quick succession. Well worth a buy. If you're good enough for the tank will be good enough for you. Thanks very much, Wing Nico, for, I think that's your second replay on channel. The replay system is brilliant. If you guys would ever consider becoming patrons, that would be cool too. Patreon.com/thebushka, because when we do live streams like Monday, Thursday, Friday, you come and chat in the Discord and hang out with your wang out and do whatever it is you want to do on the PUBG front too. So that'd be cool. Yeah, stick around for those live streams. Stick around for more reviews. Stick around for more giggles. Until next time, stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.